In the early hours of April 26, 1986, a team of engineers at the Chernobyl nuclear power plant in Soviet Ukraine prepared for a routine safety test. Their goal was simple: to see if the plant's steam turbines could power the emergency feedwater pumps in the event of a power outage. It was a test that had been attempted before, and on this night, nobody expected anything out of the ordinary. The city of Pripyat, just a few kilometers away, slept peacefully, its 50,000 residents unaware that their world was about to change forever. Inside the control room of reactor number 4, a tense atmosphere was building. The test had been delayed for hours, putting the reactor in a state of instability that the operators were struggling to manage. The senior engineer in charge, Anatoly Dyatlov, was known for his demanding and uncompromising style. Under pressure to complete the test, a series of critical safety systems were deliberately disabled, one by one. The operators were essentially flying blind, pushing the reactor far beyond its designed operational limits. The RBMK-type reactor, a Soviet design, had a known fatal flaw, something the operators weren't fully aware of. At low power levels, it could become dangerously unstable, creating a positive feedback loop where a power surge would cause an even greater power surge. This is exactly what started to happen. As the operators initiated the shutdown by pressing the AZ5 button, a button meant to be the last line of defense, the flaw was triggered. The graphite tips on the control rods, designed to absorb neutrons and slow the reaction, momentarily displaced the water coolant, which actually accelerated the reaction. It was like hitting the brakes in a car, only to find they were connected to the accelerator. In an instant, a catastrophic power surge, over 100 times the reactor's normal output, tore through the core. A massive steam explosion, followed seconds later by a second, more powerful blast, blew the 2,000-ton lid clean off the reactor building. A column of fire and radioactive material shot a kilometer into the night sky, painting it with an eerie, beautiful glow. Firefighters who rushed to the scene, with no protective gear and no idea of the true danger, were met with an invisible enemy. They heroically battled the blaze, but they were being exposed to fatal doses of radiation. Many described a metallic taste in the air and a sensation of pins and needles on their faces. Within the shattered control room, the operators stared at their instruments in disbelief. The dials were either off the charts or completely dead. They couldn't comprehend the scale of what had just happened. They reported to their superiors that the reactor was still intact, a fatal miscalculation. Outside, chunks of graphite from the reactor core littered the ground, each one emitting lethal levels of radiation. Anyone who picked one up, thinking it was just a piece of debris, was sealing their own fate. The Soviet government's initial response was one of denial and secrecy. They didn't want to admit to the world, or their own people, that a disaster of this magnitude had occurred, but the radioactive cloud was already drifting. On April 28, workers at a nuclear power plant in Sweden, over 1,000 kilometers away, detected abnormally high levels of radiation on their shoes. They initially thought there was a leak at their own plant, but soon realized the radiation was coming from the east. The world was beginning to find out. Back in Pripyat, life had continued as normal for a full day and a half. Children played outside, people went about their daily lives, all while being showered with radioactive fallout. It wasn't until the afternoon of April 27, 36 hours after the explosion, that the evacuation order finally came. Buses streamed into the city, and residents were told to pack only what was necessary for a 3-day trip. They were told they would be back soon. They never returned. They left behind their homes, their pets, their entire lives, which were now frozen in time. The aftermath was a monumental struggle against an invisible, deadly force. A team of brave men, known as the Liquidators, were sent in to clean up the disaster. Miners dug a tunnel beneath the melting reactor core to install a cooling system. Pilots flew helicopters directly over the exposed core, dropping sand, lead, and boron to smother the fire and absorb the radiation, all while being bombarded with intense radioactive fields. These were acts of incredible sacrifice, with many paying the ultimate price for their heroism. A massive steel and concrete structure, known as the sarcophagus, was hastily built over the ruins of Reactor 4 to contain the remaining radioactive material. It was a temporary solution, a race against time. Today, a new, larger structure called the New Safe Confinement Arch covers the old sarcophagus, designed to secure the site for the next 100 years. The Chernobyl disaster was a turning point in history. It exposed the flaws in a political system built on secrecy and the immense dangers of nuclear power when safety is compromised. It was a tragedy born from a combination of a flawed reactor design and profound human error. The operators in the control room that night didn't set out to cause a catastrophe. They were following procedures, albeit flawed ones, under immense pressure. They realized what was about to happen only in the final, terrifying seconds, when the hum of the reactor turned into a violent roar, and it was already far, far too late. The legacy of Chernobyl serves as a permanent, chilling reminder of the responsibility that comes with wielding the power of the atom. Thank you for watching. If you found this story compelling, Please like this video and subscribe to our channel for more deep dives into history's most pivotal moments.